Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful fall afternoon. My name is Heidi McIndoe. I am a registered dietitian. And today, so registered dietitian just means I love food. I love healthy food. I love delicious food. I love people eating healthy, helping people eat healthy and delicious food. So today we are going to be cooking not one, but two comfort food recipes. And I do not think you can get any more comforting than mac and cheese and homemade tomato soup, which pairs so perfectly with grilled cheese. So comfort, comfort, comfort. Um, so I'm going to start with the mac and cheese. Yes, I have the chat open, so please feel free to make any comments as long as they're not mean and they are nice, and ask any questions you might have in the chat. So because we are making two recipes, I am going to get started. So first off, so I normally do this in a saucepan on my stove, but this is just better for me to do a recording. So I'm using my little handy dandy electric skillet. If you are on your phone, you should be able to swipe. I have two cameras going. So I have me and then I have the pan down here. So the first thing we're going to do, I put 4 tablespoons of butter in here. Yes, I said butter. It is real butter. Even though basically, so my whole idea of healthy eating, there's tons of naturally healthy, delicious food out there, but there are some dishes that are delicious and maybe not so healthy for us. So there's 2 ways you can, include those in your day. One is to eat them sparingly, occasionally. The other is to maybe tweak them a little to make them slightly more either less of the negative ingredients or something more beneficial. In this case, we are going to be trying to add a little bit less of the less than healthy ingredients. So the beginning of that is butter. So I've made a lot of mac and cheeses in my life. According to my husband, far too many mac and cheeses because I'm always trying a new recipe. But I love mac and cheese and they call for a lot of butter. So in this recipe, I put 4 tablespoons of butter, which isn't a lot because, I mean, it may sound like a lot. But when we break that down, this recipe serves about 6. So everybody's just getting a little over a teaspoon of butter per serving. So that's really not a lot, but it really just adds that butter, rich butter flavor that I love. So we start with our 4 tablespoons of butter and we are making our cream sauce. Now, the cool thing I did not tell you about this mac and cheese is this is 1 pot barbecued chicken mac and cheese. So if you're not a chicken eater, you can totally leave out the chicken. That's fine. If you don't like barbecue sauce, you can leave out the barbecue sauce. But did you hear me? 1 pot. I am not boiling noodles in another pot. I'm not making a white sauce here. I'm not baking it in the oven and dirtying the whole kitchen. This is the whole place. So we are adding to our melted butter. We are adding 1/4 cup of flour. I am using all-purpose flour. If you are a gluten-free eater, go ahead and use your gluten-free flour. Whatever type of flour you traditionally use, we are just thickening, making a little thick sauce here. We're also going to throw in, I don't know, a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. Get those out of my way. And where'd my cayenne go? A pinch. Well, that's a big pinch of cayenne. A lot more came out than I expected. All right, but that's fine. So we're just going to cook this for a minute or so. Basically, we want that raw flour to cook out, and we want this butter to thicken up a little bit. So there we go. All right, so you can see that's thicker than it was. We can make lines in it, so it's not just 100% melty liquid. It's a bit thicker. If it was just the melted butter, we wouldn't be able to see these lines. All right, so that is step 1 of our roux or white sauce, whatever you want to call it. All right, so now we are going to slowly add 1.5 cups of milk. I am using low-fat milk. Again, a lot of mac and cheeses call for heavy cream, half and half, that just contribute to the high saturated fat intake. And I find that the low-fat milk works perfectly fine. So we're going to slowly whisk this in. Get all of those edges. Now basically we're taking our white sauce, our roux, and we're helping our milk to thicken up a little bit. All right, and so that's going there. Now we have, now you're gonna be like, what? 2.5 cups of water. This is how we do it one pot. We are going to be putting our raw noodles in here, and they're going to boil right in our cream sauce. So what does that do? It does two things. So it, again, gives us one pot to cook in instead of a lot of dirty pots, but it also means that our pasta is not just absorbing water, our pasta is absorbing that delicious, buttery, cayenne, peppery cream sauce that we made. So it's going to have another layer of flavor. All right, so now we want to bring this to boil. Don't want to boil too much. And I have got 10 ounces of elbow macaroni. And that is going to go in here. You could totally use whole wheat macaroni. My family is not a fan of the whole wheat macaroni, the whole wheat pasta. So we get our whole grains from other sources like breads and crackers. So we use traditional elbows, but whatever you like, either will work. So we're just waiting for this to boil, and then the magic is going to happen. So give me a second. Anybody got any questions so far? Comments? Because then we're going to move on to recipe 2 while we let this set. All right, just go mentally through my head, make sure I put all the ingredients in, and I did. Yeah, this is, we're literally watching a pot try to boil. We know how boring that is. What kind of cheese do you guys like in your mac and cheese? There we go. Anything special? I know a lot of people use Gruyere, Gouda. Oh, what, there's another cheese now I can't, oh, Fontina. I like cheddar. I'm boring. But it is a yummy cheddar that I'll be using. All right, I can see it wanting to bubble here. We've got some bubbles around the edges. Almost ready. Oh, good. Oh my gosh, look at us. It's only 1:09 and we're already almost halfway done our one pot mac and cheese. Maybe. And the reason I just keep whisking, I don't want that, once the water is stirred in, everything sort of emulsifies well, but I want to make sure there's no lumps of that roux that we made. And you can see it's actually, I mean, this is thicker than water. This is actually sort of thickening our water a little bit. All right, I can hear it. It's bubbling. But we don't want to put the pasta in too soon because we want it to get hot enough to be that full rolling boil, so it will cook our pasta. So we do have to be patient, unfortunately. This is the hardest part of the whole recipe. The waiting. Oh, you know what I should do? I know what I'm going to do. While I'm waiting, I forgot to pull up the recipes. So I want to get those ready so I can show you guys a screen share of these recipes at the end. So trust me, let's see, we're not missing anything here. You probably got my arm there though, don't you? I can't click with my left hand. Sorry about that. All right, so we've got that one. Whoops. All right, it is starting to make little bubbles. And back so I can see what's going on. Oh, come on. Everybody ready for the rain tomorrow? I know my garden is. Okay, it's getting nice and thick. It is almost there. It smells delicious, if that's any consolation here. And I did weigh out my macaroni. Like I said, it's 10 ounces, so it's somewhere, it's roughly 2/3 of a cup. Yeah, 3/4 of a cup is 12 ounces, a half a cup is 8 ounces. However, I do really like to weigh it out. If you're using the elbows, it's not a huge deal, but different pasta, if you want to use a different pasta, it doesn't fit so well in the measuring cup. You know, the big like cavatappi and things like that. So I recommend weighing it out so you know you have the right amount of pasta. All right, you can see, I don't know if you can see, there's sort of a glare, but it is starting to bubble right around here. So we are going to dump our pasta in. We are going to get it all covered with that yummy, yummy cream sauce. Now we're finally going to reduce the heat. Yeah, now it bubbles up like crazy. All right, so now we're going to reduce the heat and just let that set. So now we are going to move on to our, as we swap burners here. There we go. All right, and I'm just gonna, over here, I'm just gonna be stirring that. What I'm gonna do is move it a little bit so you guys can see it when I'm working. So in this pan, so now we are making our homemade tomato soup. My kids are huge fans of, you know, the Campbell's tomato soup that you just put a can of water in. They love it, love it. But they actually love this homemade soup as well. So what I did, this makes 2 servings. So it's nice and easy for like a little afternoon snack or a late lunch, something like that. This burner takes a while to heat, so I already started heating my 2.5 tablespoons of olive oil. They are already in here on a medium-high heat, warming up. And now we're going to start adding some flavor to our chicken soup, our tomato soup. So we're going to cut some onion. We are going to eventually be using an immersion blender. So we don't have to get anything so super small, but I don't want them to be too big. So we want about a 1/4 cup of chopped onion. So that's going to be about, I always say about 1 thick slice is what we've got here. Maybe. There we go. Skin's hard to get off. Okay, we're gonna give our macaroni a stir. And we just want to do that so it doesn't stick to the pan. So we're just chopping up our onions. I'm gonna pop them in there. That looks like about 1/4 cup. Now we've got we need 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. And what I like, oh, I already peeled it. What I like to do with my garlic, I like to grate it in. So I'm gonna stir my onion so it can get all coated with the oil. Make sure you guys can see what's going on in there. This just to me is just such an easy way to get my garlic really fine. So I just have a microplane, a fine microplane grater. I just grate till I get to the nub. And then I'm done. And we're gonna do the same thing over here. So that was sort of, it calls for 1 clove of garlic, but that first one was sort of tiny, so I just added a second one. Never too much garlic, you know? My name may be Scottish, my maiden name's German, but I am Italian, so. Love my garlic. Okay, so now under here, we've got all this beautiful garlic paste that we're just gonna pop right in there. The other thing I like about using this microplane is it's stainless steel. If you ever try and get garlic off of your fingers, run it under hot water and rub on, obviously the down way, not the up way, on stainless steel, and it helps remove that garlic smell. All right, so we do not want our garlic to burn. We're basically going to cook our onion here. We're gonna stir our mac and cheese. Let's see if I can get these. Oops, no, I should do it this way, a little closer. So you can see it is starting, see over there in the corner, it is starting to thicken up. I'm gonna turn it up a smidge. There we go. All right, so we've got our garlic and our onion. Big hunk of onion there. So we're just gonna brown these for a couple minutes till they're nice and soft. So remember, we will be, I'm going to be using the immersion blender to make this soup nice and uniform. So we're not gonna have the chunks in it. I suppose if you like the chunks, you could leave it that way, but I don't. So I'm gonna soften up. So we're getting these nice and soft. I'm gonna keep that going. And we're actually going to have, once we get that going, we have to go back to our mac and cheese and do something while we're just stirring. Ooh, onions in the eyes. And this is great. You don't want this burner on too hot. You want your onions to soften, but you don't want your garlic to burn. Burnt garlic is no fun for anybody. And what we're going to be adding to this pot once things soften up is, you could totally use fresh tomatoes if you want. If you have garden tomatoes, go ahead and use about 4 cups of chopped tomatoes, along with a half a teaspoon of basil and oregano. But what we are using, because I don't have any garden tomatoes, and this is a great winter kind of recipe. Let's see, can we see it over here? There we go. We have the diced tomatoes, the Italian style diced tomatoes. What are these? Yeah, they are called Italian style. Some brands call it different things. So we've got the Italian style diced tomatoes. And the other thing I'm adding to this soup is chicken stock. You could totally make this vegan by using a veggie stock, that's fine. But what I do to get chicken stock, and where did I put it? I actually use this stuff called Better Than Bouillon. I love it for a number of reasons. So my recipe today calls for 3/4 of a cup of chicken stock. Well, if you use the big boxes of stock, that will leave you 3 1/4 cups left of chicken stock, and you got to use that stuff up, which if you use it frequently, no problem. But I like to be able to make just the amount I need. Also, if you use like the bouillon cubes, you're going to get a whole cup of stock that maybe you don't need. The cool thing with this stuff, you can make exactly the amount you need because it's a teaspoon of the concentrated paste. Actually, I just used the last of this jar, but it's like a paste. A teaspoon of this and a cup of water makes a cup of chicken stock. So if I want a half a cup, I use a half a teaspoon and a half a cup of water. Today I wanted 3/4 of a cup, so I used 3/4 of a cup of water, 3/4 of a teaspoon of the concentrate. So it's just, you can really make as much as you want, and it's very budget friendly. This jar, I want to say, depending on your store, is around $5, $6, and there's like 30 something. Let's see how much. 38 cups of stock in here. So if you were to buy 38 cups of a box stock, that's definitely more than $5 or $6. All right, so I'm still working on this over here. My onions, you can see they're starting to brown a little bit. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not. They smell delicious. So they're getting softer. I'm gonna give it one more minute because I want them to puree nice and smoothly. And then just scrape down our cheese sauce there. And then we're gonna add our stock and our tomatoes. Oh, and one last ingredient to cut a little bit of the maybe acid in the tomatoes. We're gonna have about a teaspoon of brown sugar. All right, so these are nice and soft. So we're gonna dump in our tomatoes. We are going to dump in our chicken stock. And we are going to add, all right, we want to bring this to a low boil, about a teaspoon of brown sugar. That's it. No, actually, I don't think that was a teaspoon. It's all sticking to my measuring spoon. Okay. So we're going to give this a little stir. All right, smells like tomatoes and garlic and basil. So we're, like I said, bringing that to a boil. Then we're going to simmer, turn it to a little bit lower temperature, put a lid on it and let it simmer for 5 minutes or so. So we're going to scoot this guy back. I'm going to bring our mac and cheese over so you can see what's going on here. So you can see it is totally absorbing that creamy, buttery, yummy liquid. It's not ready yet though. So basically by the time all the liquid is absorbed, the pasta will be cooked nicely. So we're going to set that aside because what kind of mac and cheese did I say it was? Barbecue chicken. Have you seen the chicken yet? No, you've not seen the chicken yet. So you can do this a couple ways. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to put a lid on it. If you can totally buy raw chicken, cook that up. Let's see, we're going to turn that down a little bit. You know, however you like to cook chicken, roast it, poach it, whatever you like to do, broil it, grill it, and chop that up for the sake of time and convenience. And sometimes because, you know, I need dinner in a hurry and I don't want to deal with that. I love taking advantage of the little carved, grilled or rotisserie style chicken breasts. And all I have to do is give them a little rough chop and we're good. So let's get them all out here. Excuse me while I wash my hands, rinse a little smidge. And we're just cutting these into little pieces. And whatever size you like. If you like to keep them that big giant size, that's totally fine. I like them this way because they distribute better in the mac and cheese. All right, this guy's starting to come to a bubble. Actually, put the lid on. All right, so we can see what's going on here with our chicken. So this is a great way also. So one of the things with mac and cheese, with any pastas, they don't have a lot of protein. So we end up giving ourselves these huge portions to fill us up, and then we overeat portions, but then we still don't have protein, which keeps us feeling fuller longer. So we end up eating later. So what I always recommend when people have protein, or sorry, pasta in their meals, pair it with a protein. So make sure your pasta has meatballs, or you're serving some fish or something on the side. This is a great way to add some extra protein to our mac and cheese. And, oops, I forgot a spoon. There we go. So what that's gonna do is it's going to displace some of the pasta. So you're not getting as carb heavy a meal. But the other thing it's going to do is it's going to provide staying power. Protein keeps us feeling fuller longer. So by adding chicken, that's what that's going to do to this mac and cheese. Just use your favorite barbecue sauce. We need about 6 tablespoons. So, and we're just mixing the chicken with the barbecue sauce to make our barbecue chicken mac and cheese. You can measure 6 tablespoons, or you can just roughly squirt 6 tablespoons in there, whatever works for you. And now we're just mixing that all up. All right, I can hear my tomato soup bubbling away. So we're going to turn it down, let it simmer for a little bit. We don't need it to boil. All right, there is our super easy barbecue chicken. And we are almost done our 2 recipes. I hope you guys can hang out with me for a minute longer. I know we've got 3 minutes left technically. I hope we can stay on a little bit longer than that. So now, straight piece of macaroni there. Well, we forgot to get spoons. So what have we not added to our mac and cheese yet? Cheese. This is another way that we are making this mac and cheese a little healthier. We're not using a whole bag of mac and cheese, or sorry, cheese. I like to use full fat cheese. I don't feel like the artificial or the reduced fat taste well or melt well. If you are happy with them, go ahead and use a reduced fat cheese. Like I said, I like the full fat cheese. I just like to use less of it. So this was like a third of the bag. So we're using about 6 ounces, 5 to 6 ounces of our cheese. And wouldn't you know, the bag didn't open. Go. So we've got about 2 ounces there. We'll add another 4-ish ounces. That looks good. And now we just let this cheese melt in our mac and cheese. Can we see that on the camera? Make sure we get all that creamy yumminess. And yum, yum, yum. Really turned the burner down too much and it's not even melting my cheese. All right, get that all around. And I really like that. Obviously, you can use whatever kind of cheese you like. I told you I like cheddar. I really like that Cabot Seriously Smart cheddar. It just has such a rich flavor. You can use whatever cheese you like. You can use a combination of cheeses. Now my burner's up too high and it's sizzling. All right, so that's that. It's all, you can see that gooey, melty cheese. We are going to toss our barbecue chicken in here and boom, we have got barbecue chicken mac and cheese. Just like that. Voila. And you know what? So this is going to make, it's going to smear the barbecue sauce all over. You are very welcome. All over the mac and cheese. If you like a neater look, you could totally just serve the mac and cheese and put a scoop of chicken on top. All right, so that's our mac and cheese. I'm going to turn it down and move it over so we can get back to our soup. Because we're almost done. I'm going to turn my burner off for the soup. It's bubbling like crazy. Where'd my spoon go? We're going to stir this. And then we're going to move everything out of the way. we are gonna add our little immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could totally put this in a blender, but you're gonna wanna wait till wait till it cools down. And you're gonna wanna put a towel over the blender and hold that on and hold that lid on so you do not have to be cleaning tomato soup off of your ceiling. The cool thing with the immersion blender is we don't really need to wait for it to cool down that much. It'd be nice if it cooled down a little so I don't splatter myself, but we don't have that time. So I'm gonna do this and just put it in there. It's gonna be loud, so turn your volume down. And just go all around. I lift it up every now and then, make sure I'm getting chunks in there. Flattering me a little bit, but my son is going to be thrilled to come home and find I'm moving. Just to give you an idea of what this immersion blender is doing. So now we've got a few little chunks in here, but because I'm not done yet, but you can see how it is really just pureeing all of those ingredients. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything? Because I can wait and do the rest of my pureeing after. Okay, that's it. Like I said, I may let it cool a minute longer and do a little bit more pureeing, but we've got delicious, delicious, delicious tomato soup right there. And let's we don't want to forget our yummy mac and cheese. Move this to the side. So there we go. So we've got comfort food ×2. I hope you guys like these recipes. I can hang out if anybody has any questions. Other than that, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. And yeah, so that's it. Like I said, I'm happy to hang out for questions. But other than that, we are done cooking.